Hello everyone and welcome back to another one of these screencasts. This one's on ratio, it's on sharing out, but on this one we're going to give you one side. So in theory it's actually easier than sharing out a complete total. Okay, but people often find this one a little bit harder to understand, and we're going to explain why. So just remember, when we're sharing, we are looking to share things like food, things like money, or just general items. So when you're doing your exam, just look out for those types of things so that you know it's a ratio question. So we should have an understanding what a ratio is, so I won't go over that again. We have gone through that not all ratios are fair. So we don't always split money down the middle or food down the middle. Sometimes some people get more than others because they might do extra work, so therefore they deserve to have a little bit more. Okay, so let's just go through the standard here. Just remember, I had 12 donuts. These are shared in a ratio of, for every one donut Jack got, Jessica got 3 donuts. And I had 12 donuts to share. So remember, when we had this one, we were looking at how many rounds I would do before I ran out of donuts. So on the first round, I gave Jack 1 donut and Jessica 3 donuts. So I had 4 donuts. Okay, if I did that again, I would give another 4 donuts out. So that means I've given 12 donuts out. And then if I did it again, I would give out my 12 donuts. And that would mean that there was 3 rounds, wasn't there? There was 3 rounds. Jack would have got 3 donuts because each round he got 1. And Jessica would have got 9 donuts. So the way that we did that was very, very simply. We added the ratios together to give us how many we gave out on each round. And then we took our total and we divided by 4, and it gave us 3. So each round, Jack got 1, but there was 3 rounds. Each round, Jessica got 3, and there's 3 rounds. So we took that information and we times 1 by 3 and 3 by 3, and we got 9. Okay? So there you go. It really is as simple as that. So when we added them together, we were just trying to find out how many rounds it took before we ran out of donuts. So when we look at these examples, we're actually doing the same thing. The only difference is we're kind of given one side. So let's go through an example now. Don't need to pause the video, just going to go through example. So a drawer contains white socks and black socks only. The number of white socks to the number of black socks is in a ratio of 1 to 3. So therefore, for every 1 white sock, we have 3 black socks. There are 12 white socks. So work out the number of black socks in the drawer and also work out the total number of socks in the drawer. So very simply, like we did before, we label them up, remembering that if we have white socks first in our text, then that will be represented in our first number, and obviously black socks for our second. But this time we know that there is, I'll just go back a step there, we know that there is 12 white socks, and each round we have 1 being given to white. So if there's 12 white socks, and each round, every time I share them out, I give 1 white sock, 3 black socks, then it's going to take me 12 rounds to get rid of my white socks here. So it's exactly the same as before, but this time we don't have the total. What we do is we take the total of white socks and we divide it by the number, the ratio here. So 12 divided by 1 is going to give us 12. And then that means there's 12 rounds. Yeah, 12 rounds of sharing out. So therefore, we take our 3 and we times it by 12. Okay? So it is actually more simple than sharing a total. Because in reality, we are still sharing a total with just that one ratio, okay? So to work out how many black socks there are, obviously that's pretty easy because I've got 36. To work out the total number of socks, I would just add these together. 36 plus 12 equals my 48. So that's an example for you. So let's just go through that again. I take my total of white socks and I divide it by the ratio. All right, that tells me how many rounds took place. And then I take my other figure or my other figures and I times that by 12 as well. It really is as simple as that. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video now, give this a go, and come back when you think you've got it right. So James has some apples and oranges. The ratio of apples and oranges is 2 to 5. He has 15 oranges. So first step is to write it out, isn't it? So we've got apples and oranges in a ratio of 2 to 5. So just remember that every time I do a share, so I give 2 apples and 5 oranges, then 2 apples and 5 oranges, and 2 apples and 5 oranges, okay? I've got 15 oranges, so I just move down there. So how many rounds would have that taken? So 2 apples, 5 oranges. That means 5 oranges have gone. 2 apples, 5 oranges. That means that 10 oranges have gone. 2 apples and 5 oranges. I've run out of oranges. So I take my 15, I divide it by 5, and I end up with 3. So it took 3 rounds, didn't it, to get rid of all my oranges. That means if I took 3 rounds, then how many apples would I have had? I would have had 2 times 3, and that gives me 6 because there was 3 rounds. So how many apples does James have? He has 6. And there we go. So let's pause the video now. Now, here we go. So, potentially you'll go, oh, there's 3 ratios. I don't know what to do. It's exactly the same process. Just because there's 3, nothing changes. We're just trying to find how many rounds took place to get rid of our 60 pounds. Or not get rid of it, but share it out. So pause the video now, give it a go, and come back and see if you've got it right. So here we go. Let's start out by just labelling them up. We've got Abby, Neil, Dylan. Abby, Neil, Dylan. We share the sum of money in a ratio of 2 to 4 to 5. Okay, so for every £2, Abby gets, Neil gets 4, and lucky Dylan gets 5. Okay, so in reality, we know that Neil's going to get twice as much as Abby. So that's pretty simple, but let's not worry about that too much. So we're going to drop down our 60. Okay, so just remember, every time we did a share, we gave 2 to Abby, 4 to Neil, 5 to Dylan. All right, so how many times do we go through that process before we got to 60? So we need to take our 60 and we need to divide it by 4, and it gives us 15. Now that was 15 shares, 15 rotations through. So we're going to take our 15 and we're going to times it by 5, and we're going to times it by 2. So 5 times 15 is 75, and 2 times 15 is 30. And we could have worked that out really quickly because we knew that Neil had double the amount of money of Abby, but we didn't really know with Dylan. So we can comfortably say that we are correct. Okay, so how much money does Dylan have? Dylan gets 75 squids. Okay, so here we go. It's now time for you to do one more question before we hit the quiz. This is a little bit easier than the last question, so hopefully you'll do really, really well. It'd be really, really good if you haven't already to really write this out in full, please, in your books. I always say to my classes, do something today that your future self is going to thank you for. If you write this question out as a real good example, then when you look back in your book, you will go, oh, I knew what I was doing then. I can clearly demonstrate how I'm doing these questions. So just take your time, write out the question in full, work it out, come back and see if you've got it correct. Here we go. So the ratio of the number of girls to the number of boys in a school is 9 to 10. So we've got 9 girls to 10 boys. There are 900 boys in the school. Work out the total number of students in the school. So let's start by breaking it down. We've got girls to boys, 9 to 10. For every 9 girls there'll be 10 boys. So straight away, we should be saying, okay, we're going to have less girls than boys, aren't we? Less girls than boys. Let's drop down our 900. Okay, so this we're not sharing out boys and girls on this occasion, but you can understand what might happen. Yeah, we're going to take our 900 and divide it by 10, and that's going to give us 90. So there was 90 rotations. Just imagine if all the school kids were waiting outside the gate, and we let in 9 girls, 10 boys, 9 girls, 10 boys, until we got not rid of all the boys and girls, but all the boys and girls had got into school. And then all we're going to do is it's going to take our 9 and we're going to times it by 90, or our 90 by 9, and we're going to end up with 810. And that makes sense, doesn't it? That we're going to have less girls than boys, but not a ridiculous amount less. And that's why that's quite a good answer that we've got there. Okay. So here goes the quiz now to finish off. Hopefully you do really, really well. Again, if you could write this one out in full, that'd be amazing. Give it a go and come back and see if you've got it bang on. So time for answers now. Time for answers. So here we go. Rachel had some first class and second class stamps. The ratio of number of first class to the number of second class was 3 to 4. So obviously 3 to every 3 first class stickers. Stamps. We had 4 second class. Rachel has 18 first class stamps. How many second class stamps does Rachel have? How many stamps does Rachel have in total? So we write it out, first and second. 3 to 4, and we knew there was 18, so we divided 18 by 3 to give us 6, and we used that number there. 6 times 4 gives me 24. So how many second class stamps does Rachel have? 24. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because we should have more than first class. And how many stamps does Rachel have in total? That's 18 plus 24, which gives us our 42. So hopefully you've done really, really well. So either write a revision card on this topic so that you can go over it. A lot of reason why pupils don't do well in maths is not because they weren't good at the topic. It's just they haven't covered it in a long time and they make silly errors. So don't be one of those students. Write a revision card or get in contact with me. And I'm still in the process of getting these done digitally. Once I've done that, I will put it up on my YouTube page. But they'll be done really, really shortly. So anyway, until next time, it's always a pleasure helping you with the maths. Hopefully you feel more confident. Hopefully you go into your classes doing really, really well.